Outer Orange.
It is super hot, or at least it feels like it, and the summer hasn't even started yet. But anyway, we are here to talk about some Bermuda Triangles, so let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so here I am. Here's the deck. We're gonna kind of briefly talk about it. Deck box I'm using is actually Sonata because, yeah, I thought it's very fitting, and, you know, since this deck revolved around Melody, and, you know, that whole archetype, I thought, why not put it in a Melody box? And sleeves, I'm using Ellie, actually. These are Ellie sleeves. I haven't actually had these for a while. I've never actually used them. Somebody actually asked me to kind of do a profile on this, and I was like, you know what, why not? Sure. I recently took it to my locals right before I decided to record this. All the Bermuda archetypes that are meta, this is probably the one I spend the least amount of time with, so I'm gonna give you guys kind of like my personal approach to it. But low-key, if you think that there are better options, there really isn't much to choose from. But if you are more a defensive person, that's perfectly fine. I am more of an offensive person when it comes to this deck. I like to play as aggro as possible just because I think that's really your only way to just shut down your opponent as fast as possible. So I play it like that, but I will give some alternatives to some of there's basically two cards. We'll give alternatives to those two cards, and you can kind of vouch for yourself kind of where you want to find the middle ground. If you are enjoying this content, do not forget to subscribe to see more wonderful things from your good neighborhood Outer Orange. And also do not forget to shop at 50cards.shop for anything that you need. Lyrical Monstero just dropped. Do not forget to pick up your cards. They look amazing, so go ahead and grab them. 50cards.shop. Use my code ORANGE to get whatever you need. Other than that, let's get into this profile. So we're gonna start with Star on Stage Pawn. This is literally your star of the show. It's in her name, and she's actually a star. Her skill is very simple. During each main phase and each battle phase, this unit gets all the abilities with Melody, with the Melody thing that isn't herself. So you'll notice that there is a kind of a Melody thing right here. It shares all of your Melody stuff. So this is very important. Some people kind of get a little confused with how sort of this combination works, but I'll try to break down the Melody thing. But pretty much all your units share Melody, and they all get each other's skills, and they kind of all work off that. So you got to be very careful of that. Per turn, counterblast 1, putting Rearguard with Melody into Soul. Draw a card, and all your opponent, and if your opponent's Vanguard grade 3 or greater, you can get imaginary gift, Force, Excel, or Protect. So you have to pick one, and it's only when your opponent's on grade 3 or greater, so you have to be very cautious of that little concept there. But pretty much, long story short, you get all the skills, all your skills that are in Soul, essentially. That's the best way to kind of explain it. All your skills in Soul activate, but keep in mind, Vanguard Rearguard skills do stay active as well on the board. So if you have a Vanguard Rearguard Melody, she does take those skills as well. So you can kind of go a little, well, she takes them because she shares all of them. It's not that she shares them within her Soul, it's just that she shares them on the board like the other Melody units share them. It's just something to keep in mind. Which is imaginary gifts, you usually want to go Excel. There's really no reason to go any other one. With the way I built this deck, you definitely want to go Excel. On a very rare occasion, if you kind of go a little more defense, I guess you can pick up Protect Marker, or if you want to go a different aggression, you can go for Force. But in all actuality, honestly, Excel's the way to go, because if you have the entire board ready to go, you should be able to just kill your opponent on the turn you ride this card. If you're going second, if you're going first, it takes a little bit longer. If you really want to push out like not as crazy numbers, if you want to backfire a little bit and kind of take it a little bit slower, you can probably pick up a Protect or Force, who can make everything, you know, for crit 2, all that kind of stuff. But usually 9 out of 10 times you'll probably pick up Excel, because it's literally, it gives you 4 attacks with insanely high numbers. This is Colorful Pastel Sonata, probably my favorite card. Quick story here with this card. This is the first card I ever saw in Bermuda Triangle, actually. Like, literally, someone actually literally just gave me a lot of the pieces to play a Melody at the time. It was back when Sonata first came out. Lee's Lot was still unbanned, all this kind of stuff. So her skill is Vanguard Rearguard. During your turn, this unit gets 5k, and it's shared between all your Melody units. So essentially, these are stackable. If you have all 4 of these in Soul, they do stack in terms of 5k, so you can get 20k power to everything. If it's on Rearguard Circle, it does stack within all your Melody units. All your Melodies do share the skill as well. So literally, this is like your beat stick. If you have all of these between Rearguard and Soul, you will have all the conditions. She does have a really good Vanguard skill as well. Her Vanguard skill says, once per turn, Vanguard, counterblast 1, Soul blast 1, reveal cards from top of your deck until a card with Melody is revealed. Call that card with Melody to rear, shuffle your deck. So essentially what you do is you take your deck and you keep revealing, and then boom, once you reveal a Melody unit, you take that unit and you just call it to Rearguard Circle, and boom, you get the thing. Keep in mind, if you have multiple of these cards in your Soul, you can do this skill multiple times. Usually whenever you use the skill is when you just want something on the board as soon as possible, so it doesn't really matter what it is as long as it's a Melody unit, and this card definitely fulfills that role really well. This is Colorful Pastel Carol. Honestly, her Vanguard skill in this situation, probably in this deck particularly, is never used. One place you can Soul blast 2, search your deck for up to 1 Colorful Pastel Carol, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. You never really want to go into this ever. Like, you really want to avoid going to this card. But she has another skill. Her skill says this unit gets boost and Rearguard. During the battle it boosts this, you can get 5k. So this also stacks as well along with the Sonata. So she'll stack, so any melody unit will get an additional power as a booster. Like, so if you have all 4 in Soul, anything that boosts have an additional 20k power. But then on top of that, they'll also get power off Sonata. So if you have like 4 of these and say 3 of these in, you're getting 20 plus an additional 15 on top of that. So these makes these are the 2 cards right here that kind of make your numbers go absolutely crazy. So you definitely want to utilize these as much as possible. There's no reason to cut here. You really need these cards. Our win con. Colorful Pastoral Kanon. She has 2 skills. They're both insanely important, and you want to max out on this as much as possible. Her skills say Vanguard Rearguard Circle. You may soul charge 1. This is shared by all your units with melody. So again, same concept every single time. If this is in Soul, every single time you place a melody unit, you can soul charge, and yes, this does stack as well. Her other skill says Soul Blast 3 until end of turn. When your opponent would call guardians from his or her hand, he or she must call 2 or more at the same time. So essentially what she does is she gives you guard restrict on top of the super insanely high numbers. Very good win con, but the main thing about this card is really the soul charge. The win con is kind of like the extra I win button, but really the soul charge is really important. You literally want to soul charge through the majority of your deck, get as many of these into your deck as possible, and then you kind of just win the game because you have the guard restrict, you have all your power-ups active, you find your stuff a lot faster, and then you soul blast, get the guard restrict. Now your opponent has to guard twice for every single column. The guarding twice isn't an issue because usually your opponent has to PG or take it anyway, and it's mainly the fact that they have to PG it and drop an extra card where the power really comes into play. But normally your opponent would just say no guard to all their stuff if you don't hit any triggers. So in actuality, they'll PG your Vanguard, they will take your rears. If you want to run 4 Sonata, this is from Colorful Pastoral Sonata. Very similar skill to this one. The only difference is during the battle it attacked a Vanguard, it gets 5k, and this one specifically, this grade 2 specifically right here, is shared amongst all your melody units. No other grade 2 does this. It's just this one, just as easily. So this 5k does stack on all of your stuff. The only thing it doesn't stack on, keep in mind, it does not stack on the boosted unit because the boosted unit is not attacking. Now next is the card that, this is where I'll explain where you can kind of change stuff out if you really don't like this, but you know, up to you, whatever you want to do. But next I run 4 copies of From Colorful Pastoral Kanon. Now you might be asking yourself, OuterOrange, don't you already have the same thing here? Yes, I do. I know. So this skill says, but let me explain it first and I'll kind of explain it. This skill says, when placed, soul charge 1. If your Vanguard has melody until end of turn, when your opponent would call from his or her hand to guard circle, they must call 2 or more. Theoretically speaking, this is literally a worser version of this card. Why am I running this? Well, I run it for a couple of reasons. One, it's an additional soul charge early on. If you have a board state where you, on grade 2 turn, you have something like this on the board. First of all, this gives these extra 5k power when they attack Vanguard. And then, second off, these have guard restricts on them. And if you were to have like Sierra or something back here, your opponent has to guard these no matter what. So it's 15k to the face for a 2-card guard, 15k to the face. This one doesn't have the guard restrict on it, so this is straight 15. And this one will have a 15k attacker for a 2-card guard. Essentially what happens if your opponent hits a defense and you have a booster back here, they literally still have to take this column. The reason being is, why would they drop 2 cards for this? They would have to drop like either double 15k or double 5ks or double 10ks or just something. They have to 2-card guard this. So early on, this is really good because usually they'll no guard this, they won't hit a defense, they'll no guard this and no guard this, or they'll guard this and they'll take these 2, which means you're pushing them to 2-3 damage really early on, which is really good for you because normally what you want to do is you want to kill the minute you ride, because if you don't, normally you'll die because of the shield. Now people will replace this card with the Fina, and that's perfectly fine. If you want to do that, that's perfectly valid. I understand. There is another card attack to this card, so you'll notice that you have to Soul Blast 3 for this condition. Of course you do not want to Soul Blast your melody units. However, this is an insanely good target to Soul Blast with. This card does absolutely nothing in Soul, pretty much does absolutely nothing after you ride grade 3. So this is one of the best things to Soul Blast with. Like, you just Soul Blast this out instead and you're fine. You're not touching your power, because there will come situations where you have like maybe 6-7 Soul and all of it is all your pieces. Like, it'll be Sonatas, it'll be Caros, it'll be, you need at least one of these in Soul. You don't need this, but sometimes it'll literally be all the stuff that gives you power. You don't want to lose the power, so you definitely want to keep that in mind. So you want to use this instead. Like I said, the other upside to this is that it early Soul Charger, so you can early get some melody units in and kind of start pushing in case you break like really super hard and you don't see your other melody units in time. I personally don't think the shield is enough, but I do understand the argument. I think shield is very important, and especially in this deck where it kind of dies, you do want shield. I just prefer the aggressive version. I'd rather just kill my opponent and just not care about shield to begin with. This is Meep. Let me show you guys what she looks like. So there's Meep, very solid card. She has been pushed to 1. Honestly, you can still play the game without her. I actually would even argue that the deck hasn't really changed, even with her out of the deck. Like, as strange as it sounds, as I tested and all this kind of stuff, my biggest issue was still the same issues that I had before with Melody, and that's not enough shield and assisting. But this card's still really good. It says if you and your opponent's vanguards have the exact same grade, you can soul blast instead of counter blasting for this cost, and pretty much the skills counter blast. Look at top 7 cards at top of your deck. Grab 2 different Melody units in their name, 1 to soul, 1 to hand, and that's pretty much the whole thing. And then you shuffle your deck. So she's really good because she decked into 2 cards essentially every single time you use her. The soul blast can be kind of costly, so can the counter blast. Like I said, honestly, her at 1 isn't really a big deal. And then next I run 4 Sedna. So since we did lose Meep, we need a way to search out our grade 3s. So I run Sedna instead. She's a nice beater early on. This behind Caro is just really funny. Not Caro, sorry, Cannon. It's really funny. Pretty much her skill says top 5, grab a grade 3, shuffle your deck, all this stuff. If you grab a grade 3, discard something, and yeah, you'll usually just discard just stuff you don't need or stuff you may be fine without. Seer as my last grade 1s. Pretty much this is a rearguard only skill, but she actually has some really nice stuff on her. Her first skill says your other rearguard in the same column as this unit cannot be attacked. So pretty much if they try to attack it, they can't. And then when plays Soul Blast, reveal a grade 3 from the hand, look at top 7 cards, reveal up to 1 Melody unit, and put into your hand, shuffle your deck. So essentially she's a grade 3 searcher. She's kind of similar to this card. She's a Melody searcher. She's similar to this card. The only difference between this one and this one is that this one searches only for 1, and this one's Vanguard, Rearguard, this one's only Rearguard. So the best solution you can do for yourself is ride Sedna or ride Meep, and then put this as a Rearguard. It is kind of hard sometimes. You are running 9, so sometimes you're going to brick this like really hard, really fast. On this deck, GSS more than anything else, but it does happen. But that's pretty much the way you do it. So you reveal, and the other thing is really cool, if you want counter blast, which normally you do, because you want to kill your opponent as fast as possible, having this behind like a Conan or a Sonata early on is really good because they literally can't attack. They literally can't attack your rearguards. They have to attack Vanguard, which means that you have more counter blast, which means you can win the game faster. 4 of the crit sentinels. Again, you can make these perfect guards if you want. I'm currently testing with crit sentinels. I definitely see the validation behind PGs. I totally get it. Perfect guards are perfect guards in the day. I like to just finish my opponent before they even have a chance to try and make me want to think about perfect guards. So I just run the crits. I think 30k guard is also just really nice. You can run a 2-2 split. You can run all 4. It is up to you. I'm personally really scared to deck out, and actually there were some games where I almost decked out, but because I knew I didn't run draws, I knew I wasn't going to deck out. So because I knew I wasn't going to deck out, I actually knew exactly how much I could soul charge. But if you have a PG in deck, you can't do that anymore. You have to be very cautious. So I actually think running these is just nice for that. We have even more crits. Yeah, so I run 8 more crits on top of that. So here they are. Just even more lethality. I'm going for full lethality. If you want to change it up, that's perfectly valid. I'm just going for full lethality. And last but not least, it's probably the weirdest one that I actually get a lot of questions about. It's 4 heals. But these are the regular heals. You'll notice that this is not a heal guardian. This is just a regular heal. You might be asking yourself, why in the world are you running regular heals? Well, honestly, I'm just experimenting with them. 20k shield is actually strangely very useful in this deck. Usually early on, you don't really care about taking damage. You actually don't mind taking damage at all because you want to save all any guard you have for actually your opponent's lethal blow. So that way when they try to kill you, they don't, and then you kill them next turn. So essentially what you do is you just hard guard, you don't guard anything that they take between like turn 1 and 3, and then when they try to go for lethal, you guard there, and then after you're done with that, you go to your turn and then you kill. So essentially you don't really need heal guardians is the best way to put it. Now I will agree heal guardians are nice, and I know people run them, and I'm telling you this right now, if you want to run heal guardians, by all means do. Experiment with both of them, see which one you like. But you know, there is stuff like Valkyrion, and I'm very aware of it, so I understand why people can get a little weird about that stuff. So by all means, if you are scared of the matchups that can kill you, another example is a mirror Melody can try and kill you because 20k shield won't help you there. Valkyrion is obviously a problem. So if you're scared of those decks, by all means, just run the heals. Run the heals. I totally understand. But this is the deck. I literally don't play this deck like ever. This is one of the decks that I spent the least amount of time with, but I have the idea down because I actually face against it a lot because we actually have someone at our locals who also plays this deck. So I have the idea down. I understand how the deck works. I just personally don't play it that much just because, I don't know. I'm not really big into high roll decks. So I think it's beautiful though. This deck is gorgeous. These SVR arts are like breathtaking as hell. Sonata is a very beautiful art. The sunflowers, oh my God, just amazing. So with that being said, this is the deck profile. I hope you find success in it. I personally think you'll find success with it. I think if you know your matchups, if you know how to play it, if you are very cautious with what you put into soul, the biggest thing is knowing what to put into soul, you should be fine. If you have any questions in the comments below, please feel free to leave them. I know there's some iffy stuff with how the Melody stuff works. Feel free to ask any questions you want below. I'll happy to answer you any rulings or any questions. Or if you're playing Melody, tell me why. Or if you're not playing Melody, tell me what your other decks that you're playing in Bermuda Triangle. I'll be happy to hear. Other than that, guys, peace out. Das Vidania. See you guys next time. Bye!